I don't know about you guys, but one of the best feelings there is at nighttime you wake up and you see that you have food and a drink just nearby after you went to the restroom, and it's like perfect. It's like a match made in heaven. The other night I was walking back to the bed. Here I am in the hospital. There's not a whole lot around, but we had some leftover banana bread and a blue Gatorade right by my bed. And it was like the best thing ever. It was like the best tasting food ever because it was the middle of the night. You know, sometimes you just have a hankering for something. And that was perfect right then and there. Best feeling ever. So figured I'd let you guys know one of the best feelings there is out there when it comes to food with me. It's awesome. But the MLB has announced 5 suspensions and related to gambling on baseball. We are now in the super regionals of the NCAA baseball tournament, and I think we have a little issue going on in the WNBA. And well, it's the WNBA. There's probably a lot of issues. Viewership is usually one of them. I'm your host, Matthew Raridan, and this is Total Sports Talk Beyond the Lights. What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Total Sports Talk Beyond the Lights. I'm your host, Matthew Raridan, and with me today are both of my co-hosts. First, we've got David Street.
What's up, y'all? And I ain't got nothing left to say after that.
No more hook 'em. And Ed Smith.
Hook 'em, y'all.
Definitely hook 'em there. Before we got on the show, I was showing David this cool thing I got from the gift shop. There may not be gift shops at every almost said hotel, hospital. Gosh, I've been here so long. I'm starting to say hotel. It's Hotel California here at the hospital. And look at this. Look at this. This coffee mug I got. You could put it. You could chip it. It's pretty cool. I figured I saw it. I had to get it. It was pretty cool. So gift shop in the hospital for the win. But I want to jump in and talk about this MLB suspension that has happened. If you haven't heard, which I'd be surprised if you hadn't, the MLB has really ruled down on the gambling issues. And it seems like it's the first time we've heard about this since Pete Rose. And one of them being the biggest suspension, and that is a lifetime ban for Tucupita Marcano. If I pronounced it wrong, I apologize, but you're not going to really hear his name in baseball anymore. But first lifetime ban of an active player in the modern era. I want to say I saw something. It might have been like 1913. There might have been a ban way back then, but we've of course heard of the Pete Rose ban, but that was more of a agreement. So when you guys saw this breaking news, I'm sure the first thing you probably said was, "Who the hell is that?"
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, Ed.
There's so many players in the MLB at all levels. It's hard to keep all the names straight. So, absolutely, I had no idea who this was, but we're talking about him.
Yeah, that we are. No, that's Padres infielder. In my head, I'm like Machado, Bogarts, Cronenworth. I'm like the Korean guy. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And so, yeah, but it is breaking news nonetheless, because, like I said, this is the first lifetime ban of an active player, and this is just like every other sport that we've seen in the last year or so. I mean, we saw it last year with Alabama's baseball team in college. We saw it with the football this last year as well. We saw it even the year before with Calvin Ridley. They are really wanting to strike down on this because gambling is more accessible in more states than it's ever been, and it's right at your fingertips right here, and all it takes is someone on the inside to really mess this up, and they're striking down. Are you seeing a trend here on all the leagues?
Absolutely, I'm seeing a trend, and we all saw this coming. And as soon as the Supreme Court voted 5-4 to make this gambling idea accessible outside of, say, Nevada and New Jersey, we were bound to see somebody take it too far. And athletes, they think they're just regular people. Well, they're not. They are athletes that are being paid to play. So, therefore, they should not be indulging in betting what they play, because there's just certain things that you should not have that much knowledge of going into a casino. It's insider trading, if you want to use that kind of terminology.
Yeah, I mean, I I do have a little bit of sympathy for Marcano because one, anytime you're the first person to to have something not great happen to you, like that sucks. And I know that people are going to paint Marcano in a bad light. It wasn't like he kicked a dog. It wasn't like he robbed a bank or anything like that. At the end of the day, he only hurt himself. Now, that being said, I have a little bit of sympathy, but I don't have a ton of sympathy because you had to know that what you were doing was going to lead to this eventually. And I understand the whole notion of rules are meant to be, broken. And especially if you feel like the rules don't get enforced. Although in this case, with the way that gambling has been, kind of getting cracked down, but I understand that a lot of times, rules don't get enforced. So that's part of the reason why you feel like you can get away with it. But there's just some things where it's not worth it. I mean, case in point, at my last job, and really this can be for any job, but just particularly for my last job, I would always hear rumblings about how they're going to give random drug tests. And that was part of the reason why I never smoked weed. Now, I don't smoke weed for other reasons. One, I've smelled it. It smells absolutely horrible. And I think stats show that it does real damage to your brain. It does real damage for your mental abilities. And I just cannot, in good conscience, consume that. But it was partially because the potential risk that they would do a drug test right after I hypothetically smoke weed just was not worth it to me whatsoever. And to me, I think of the same thing for players who gamble. I mean, is it stupid? Maybe yes, maybe no, but it's just one of those things where it's just not worth it, and you have to know the risk that you're taking when you do that sort of stuff.
Well, when say, and we all say that they're cracking down, they're really cracking down. Just in this week alone, we saw Shohei Otani's ex-interpreter found guilty in court. We saw as well on the same day that Marcano got the lifetime ban, the pretty much mastermind behind the whole Jonte Porter issue in the NBA also got busted by the feds at the airport as he was pretty much fleeing the country. So it's not just the leagues that are cracking down on this; it is now the federal government as well. So this is a big deal, and they're really trying to kind of set a precedent here that this needs to be more aware of. But Ed, what exactly does the rule say in Major League Baseball?
Sure. So under Rule 21.002, any player, umpire, or club or league official or employee who shall bet any sum whatsoever upon any baseball game in connection with which the bettor has a duty to perform shall be declared permanently ineligible. Now, there is a dispute over Marcona's betting, because when he made these bets, he was out on injured reserve with an ACL tear. So I'm sure at some level he's thinking, oh, well, I'm not playing with the team. I do not have a duty to perform on this team, because it's really about his betting on Pirates games while he was part of the Pirates organization.
Yeah.
Him betting on, say, the Mariners and Angels, probably not liked, but it's not going to lead to a lifetime ban. And while he was part of the Pirates, he was an on injured reserve with an ACL tear, but he still bet on Pirates games. Being part of that organization, that is a duty to perform. That is part of it. And that is what has led to this lifetime ban. So I can see where he thought he was okay, but he was not okay. And this bears it out. And as we look deeper into betting across all sports, it's something that, because it is uh, so available, it is too easy to kind of say, "Oh, go ahead, get on my phone. I'm going to make these bets." But would he have been doing this had he not been able to do it so easily? Because before betting became legal, Matthew, did you know where to go to place a bet? I know
You had to know a guy. You had to know someone who
you had
knew
to know a
someone that
guy.
was a
Yep.
bookie in Vegas.
Right, and that was off the books. This
Mhm.
is all these are on the books, as part of a legal system, but the fact that it is part it is within being part of a sports league and you're betting on that sports league, that's the problem. You cannot use your inside information to uh, gain access to more funds through gambling. And the other part that I would say is I find it funny that we've never heard of Marcona, but we heard of Shohei, and maybe Marcona need an interpreter for him to know what's wrong here.
Yeah.
I mean, because we don't know much about Marcona, did they target him to make an example of him that they would not certainly do for a star player like Shohei Otani?
it def it definitely does show that the MLB is seemingly not even hiding its bias. But as we all know, Shohei makes MLB money, and Marcona does not. And as shady as that is, as cruddy as that is, that's just the reality of the situation.
Well, imagine when Marcano had his injury for the Pirates, he probably saw, I know it's a different sport, but he probably saw the suspension handed out for Calvin Ridley, who was also injured. That's when he did his betting and only had a 1 year suspension. Uh, Marcano probably thought, well, that's probably the worst that's going to happen to me. Now he ended up getting a lifetime ban. And one thing that we saw last year in football as well was Jamison Williams and some of the other Lions players, because
Mm-hmm.
in order to do this, a lot of this gambling now, it has to be tracked, because some states still is illegal to do it. So you can't do it in every state. And the rule in the NFL is you can't do it at the team facility. So last year, Jamison Williams for the Lions and a couple other players, they got in trouble because they used it in the team facility, but it had nothing to do with Lions games. It wasn't even in the NFL. It was a different sport. But rules are rules, and that's the fact of the matter, is that rules are rules here, and it is kind of a double-edged sword for Marcano because he was hurt. But at the end of the day, rules are rules, and but he also was not a good bettor. He had ended up doing over $150,000 in total in baseball bets. 87,000 of that was MLB related bets, and 25 of those bets were when he was on the Pirates. But he only had I want to say, a 4% success rate. I mean, when it came to those bets, he
Yeah.
was not good at it.
He
Well,
was a true Pirates player.
Yeah.
well, I definitely hear what you're saying, Matthew. That yes, rules are rules, but I also can't help but feel like this is also like this, and this is probably an unpopular opinion, probably something that only I hold, and that's okay with me. But this also feels like an overreach of power from Major League Baseball, because it's one. Listen, gambling is legal in you know, I don't know how many states, but a good number of states. At the end of the day, like if a player loses a bet, okay, he's only hurting himself, and you're really trying to crack down on that. Like, who gives a shit? Like, listen, if a player is betting on his team to lose while he's an active player, like that is real scumbag stuff. Yeah, I think there should be absolutely zero tolerance for that. If you're an active player betting on your own team to lose, okay, that's just scumbag crap right there, right? But like in the case of Marcona, where he wasn't even playing, he was on injured reserve. I'm not saying he should not have gone unpunished, right? I'm not saying that, but to give him a lifetime ban to me just seems absolutely ridiculous. And to circle back to what I was saying before, like these are grown men, these are grown people. Gambling is legal in almost every state, and I apologize for saying this again, but at the end of the day, who gives a shit? But all that being said, that still does not excuse that at the end of the day the rules are still there, and Marcona ultimately is an idiot. I think you can simultaneously say that the rules are stupid, but at the same time, you are stupid if you break them.
Well, I think a key thing to listen to here is the last part of the rule that Ed read off, and it pretty much says in connection with which the bettor has a duty to perform, which he didn't because he was hurt, shall be declared permanently ineligible. The bets that he did elsewhere doesn't seem to be an issue at the MLB. It was the fact of the matter of the bets that he placed while being on the Pirates, and even though he was hurt, and betting on those games. And like we said, he pretty much was, the MLB is setting the standard here. They wanted to let you know that we're taking this seriously, and don't do this.
That's that's a joke. We all know that's a freaking joke right there.
Well,
Yeah,
and I find it interesting that the Pirates as an organization kind of threw him under the bus too. They came out and said, "Oh well, we're extremely disappointed in his actions and fully support Major League Baseball's ruling." To me, that says, "Oh well, he got what he deserved, but he's not with us anymore, so who cares?"
That's exactly what I was referring to when I said that he's being painted in a bad light. Like, oh, we're so disappointed in his actions. Give me a freaking break, okay? Did he rob a bank? No. Did he kill anybody? No. Did he do anything egregious? No. Again, we understand that he broke the rules and he should be punished, okay? But to just act like he's some kind of monster because of something that ultimately hurts himself, I find that very problematic. I find that to be kind of disgusting, actually.
Baseball purists and baseball people hold the game in such pedestaled light that anything that you do or say that goes against classic rules of the game, whether written or non written, they get very defensive about the game itself. I don't see that near as much in, say, basketball or even football. But baseball is a sport that the history of it is so revered by baseball people that they will they will take the game above anybody that has ever played it, no matter what the negative connotations are.
what's funny is literally, hypothetically, next week a report could come out that Paul Skeens was involved in any bets, and I guarantee you the tune for the Pirates would totally change when it
Oh
comes
yeah,
to that.
oh
It
yeah, don't you
absolutely
know?
would. You know,
Paul Skeens, wait, he actually has a good career ahead of him that we could see. No, 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 no. Whereas Marcano, let's talk more about his stats and tenure.
I just wish the teams would be honest. Like they're never going to say it for obvious reasons, but it would be nice if they just came out and said like, yeah, like this guy sucks, or he is not part of our future plans whatsoever, and that was why we got rid of him.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, listen to this guy's numbers. He's played in 3 MLB seasons, from the Pirates and the Padres. I mean, he's a 217 hitter, which is not good in the majors at all. He with 5 home runs total. He hasn't done really much with production at all. Like I said at the beginning, who the hell was that? Because no one knows. Where if you see someone's name like I mentioned, Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens is an up and coming, star. We're seeing right in front of our eyes. Or even O'Neal Cruz on the Pirates, but there are obviously a lot bigger names in baseball than that. But players that
Mhm.
actually have a good stat line and that are well known, this would probably be a different story. Whereas this guy, he was not putting up any much numbers and had an ACL injury, so he hasn't even appeared in any games since July last year.
Also, like when Pete Rose, agreed to get himself banned from Major League Baseball.
Uh-huh.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Ed, like, wasn't he kind of like nearing retirement? Wasn't it just like, okay, well, like I'm almost retired anyway. I pretty much accomplished all I needed to, so go ahead, ban me.
Pete Rose was the manager that year.
Manager.
Oh,
So
that's right. That's right.
so he was the manager of the Phillies when that was going down. And the agreement was that he would take the lifetime ban, but take it for only so long. And Faye Vincent was going to lift the ban, but Faye Vincent died before that took place.
Yeah.
And Bud Selig was like, "No, your lifetime ban. I'm not doing anything here, and you're done.
So
There's
okay,
not going to be any of this." Now,
okay.
the as far as players that were actually banned in the previous era, Shoeless Joe Jackson was
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
the Black Sox scandal.
Yeah.
But
Gotcha.
that's the one name that I know everybody would know.
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, but okay. So then, if Pete Rose got banned for gambling as a manager, then why in the hell is he being prevented from going to the Hall of Fame as a player? That does not make any sense whatsoever.
him as anything is banned from player, manager, whatever.
His name.
His
Yeah,
accomplishments are in the Hall of Fame,
Mhm.
but he as a person is not enshrined.
that's crazy.
Yeah, and to go back to the whole commissioner talk, you guys know, like back in the day in school when someone would be running for school president or something like that, they always throw out these egregious things that they're willing to do, give you for free school lunches if you vote
Yeah,
for me. I'll never forget when Rob Manfred was becoming the commissioner. One of his big things was he was possibly going to reinstate Pete Rose, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, really? Oh man, we will like you if you do that." He didn't do it.
He didn't.
Rob,
yeah.
Pete
Rob
Rose will
Manfred.
be enshrined, but posthumously.
Yeah, yeah, which is unfortunate, but yeah,
But also, the MLB handed out several 1 year suspensions to the following players, and they are all minor league players. Jay Grome, who is with the San Diego minor league high A affiliate, Michael Kelly with Oakland's affiliate, Triple A, or is it
Uh,
Oakland's affiliate?
he was with Oakland,
Uh huh.
but he did his gambling with the while he was with the AAA affiliate of the Astros.
Astros. Okay, gotcha. So garbage cans. Okay. Jose Rodriguez with the Philadelphia Double A, and also with the White Sox minor league too, and then Andrew Salfrank, Arizona Diamondbacks. So the also names that you've probably never heard of. I couldn't even tell you if I ever heard of them before
I may
too.
I may have heard of Jose Rodriguez, and the only reason why I say that is because Jose Rodriguez is like the most baseball name ever.
No, it's
Michael
Pablo
Kelly
Sanchez.
has had a cup of coffee in the big leagues.
Say that again.
Michael Kelly has had a cup of coffee
Okay.
in the big leagues.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So, but they once again not star players. And Ed, is it the same rule, or is there another rule also being enforced?
Well, it is the first caveat of Rule 21.
Okay.
The lifetime ban is point 0.2,
Two. Okay.
0.02. This is 0.01. And the difference is, um, as
Hmm.
it states,
Mhm.
who shall bet any sum whatsoever upon any baseball game in connection with which the bettor has no duty to perform shall be declared ineligible for 1 year. So this is players that are betting on games that they are not connected to the team that they're on. They do not want any baseball players betting on any baseball games period.
Okay.
And that is in the rule book. There is nothing that any of these players can do about it.
Uh-huh.
But it's kind of like if I'm a towel boy on a for the Packers,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna want to bet stuff on on football because
Yeah.
I'm around football enough to know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Baseball recognizes that this is a problem if too many and it's a very slippery slope. If one person gets to do it and then everybody else gets to do it, it's a very slippery slope, and it'll start leading to gambling problems. Which, if you have a problem, uh, seek some help if you are gambling money that you cannot easily lose,
Mhm.
and be able to handle that.
Yeah, seek some help. Won't mention any names, but it rhymes with drain brain.
So, baseball does not want to have their league fall with as many players as they have. They can't make individual exceptions. They have to have a blanket rule, and that's what this is.
So here's a question that I'm actually kind of surprised none of us have even asked yet. But the important question is, how in the world did Maracana even get caught in the first place?
Receipts.
Big Brother's always watching. That's all I gotta say. But that's why they emphasize in there when Ed read the rule, any player, umpire, club, league official, or employee. So that could be the guy who's in charge of the landscaping, mowing the fields, lining them up, anything. So that's why he brought up the whole cowboy situation, because that is an employee, that is an affiliate. So they want to make sure that it is no one. So I'm really glad that you pointed that out, Ed, because they don't want it at all. And
Absolutely.
because of that, with the lifetime ban already being an example, these players I also read off, even though they're 1 year suspensions, I just feel like this is really going to jeopardize and hurt their careers. It's already tough enough to make it in baseball. And the fact that you're now losing a year, that year is hard to get back in baseball. From the minor leagues to the majors, you're never, unless you're Paul Skeens, you're never going to see someone that's straight out of college really making it to the majors like that.
It also definitely seems like, and I don't remember if we talked about this before we recorded or during the time of this recording, but it does definitely seem like, listen, the NFL gets a lot of things wrong, but to the NFL's credit, it does seem like Roger Goodell and those guys don't hold any bias, because in the MLB, while Shohei Otani and, hypothetically speaking, Paul Skeens get away with it. Again, hypothetically speaking, folks, we know Paul Skeens didn't bet that we know of. In the NFL, they suspended Calvin Ridley for a year for gambling. Now, I wouldn't call Calvin Ridley a superstar, but he is definitely kind of in that sort of upper tier of receivers. And NFL was like, I don't care, 1 year suspension. So,
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
they're sticking to their guns on that, and good for the NFL for not letting the brightness of their star dictate how they enforce the rule.
yeah, and they didn't want to make exceptions, just like the Jameson Williams situation, because it was not even football related bets, but the rule states you cannot bet inside team facilities. So that's why they stuck to their guns, still suspended him. And at the end of the day, it is what it is. He learned from it damn well, he did. And anyone else, go home and bet, go elsewhere, go to the McDonald's parking lot, just not in the team facilities. It's that they wanted to make that a point, and they did. So, but speaking of Paul Skeens, who we were just talking about, he really made a name for himself in the College World Series in Omaha for LSU. Sorry, David, but
well, he
that
didn't he didn't actually play against us in the championship series.
okay.
But your point is still very well taken.
Yeah, guy's still a stud. But
Mhm.
you start seeing a lot of these studs really stand out come Omaha, and we are so close to being there. But we have the super regional weekend. David's pumped; his team made it. It's
Yeah.
Florida. They did go to the championship game last year. I do want to remind folks that they have been there before. and they still have one of the best players in all of college baseball on their team, which I know David will also talk about. But it's a big weekend because I talked about all the finals happening in NBA, NHL, as well as softball. But we are still in the super regional. We're still, in the early stages of this tournament, and there's still some great teams, and there's still some teams that want to spoil. So, off the top of your guys' heads, who do you think's expected to really win this weekend, but also, probably look to win this entire thing?
I think Georgia, because they have arguably the best player in the country in Charlie Condon. So definitely Georgia. I think Tennessee as well. You know, has Tennessee has not stood out this year nearly as much as they did a couple years ago, and I think we all know why. It was more than just winning; it was all their antics and all that. But Tony Vitello has built an incredible program in Knoxville, Tennessee, where every year you expect them to get to this point. And I feel awful because I'm naming all my teams, most bitter rivals. But
Yeah, well, if this Tennessee team's anything like their basketball team, they will probably will make it past this round.
they did go to Omaha last year to their credit, and then they got their asses kicked by LSU. So
A lot of teams did.
yeah,
I'm certainly feeling Oregon State. I headed into Lexington to take on the Wildcats. That is going to be a series where Oregon State, they believe that that's a program that is in belief that they are within the top tier of college baseball teams, even though they play not the SEC schedule or the ACC schedule. They're out in the Pac-2 at this point, uh, as far as that goes. But their ability to just continue to press the gas on offense, I think, has a chance to really put Trey Poozer and Mason Moore in trouble because they don't overpower when they're throwing, but they are effective. If Oregon State can get to them, it'll be a really tough weekend for Kentucky to maintain that number 2 spot.
Yeah, and if David could say things, about his rivals and nemesis, so can I as a Duck fan. I agree with what you said, Ed, with Oregon State. I mean, this is a team. I remember watching this Oregon State team when they had Nick Madrigal, when they were just a powerhouse, and they do belong there. They've really built themselves around this baseball team and kind of made it a priority with their athletic departments. We know they lack in football. Sorry, I have to give that dig to them right now. But their baseball team has been well represented, and Oregon State is a team to really look out for going into this Lexington regional.
yeah. I mean, Oregon State is a baseball power. Like they're one of those teams when they make it to the tournament, you just know that they have a real legit shot because that's the kind of program that they've turned themselves into. And then also, me being a Florida fan, I have to talk about my Gators because in the beginning, in the beginning, God created. In the beginning
If
of
you
the
say in the beginning God created Florida, I'm done.
well, technically he did, but no, we don't. We don't need to get all religious. Go God, but in the tournament selection process, you know, when Florida was selected, pretty much everybody who was not a Florida fan was infuriated. Like, how can this happen? Florida was 28-27 at the time. They had a losing conference record. They looked horrible. This is SEC bias, and like, well, hold up. Okay, one, we had the toughest schedule in the country by far, and we had good series wins over teams like LSU, Georgia, Mississippi State, I think, and Texas A&M. Okay, yes, we had a very underwhelming season, but we also had some key series victories. And overall, our resume, when you put everything together, was just impossible to ignore. But it wasn't like we were one of the first teams in, right? We were a 3 seed in the Stillwater Regional, and we were expected to get bounced out. Well, guess what? We ended up winning the Stillwater regional championship. And a big part of that is because of guys stepping up. Ashton Wilson rode the bench pretty much all season, but due to injuries to key players, he stepped up. And in the regional, I think he went 9 for 21 batting average, or something like that. So he really stepped up. And then Brandon Neely did a really good job of closing things off against the Oklahoma State Cowboys. And so here we are. We go from having a cruddy regular season, everybody laughing at us. Well, now we're in the super regional. And listen, I think we're going to lose to Clemson. I might even say we might get destroyed by Clemson. But we do go to Omaha and Georgia and Florida State, who are also in supers. Georgia and Florida State lose in their supers. Then, like, how sweet will it be? We'll be like, yeah, we sucked in the regular season, and you guys were great. But now, guess what? We're actually performing great when it matters most, and you guys are sitting on your couches. So we'll see what happens, man. Listen, I'm not expecting, like I said, I'm not expecting us to beat Clemson, but if we do, that'll be awesome.
And one other team that you had mentioned them, David, for a brief moment, Texas A&M. They have been a top 5 team all season long, and ever since Schlossnagle got there from TCU to take over that program, they have been just killing it. Schlossnagle is one of the best baseball coaches in the country that I don't know if the entire country knows about.
TCU knows about him.
The what?
TCU certainly knows about him.
Oh, they most certainly do. And anybody that played TCU while he was there knows about him. But I think on the national scale, you don't hear as much about the baseball coaches out there. He is one that truly makes a difference game in and game out, and really runs that program and has been a great fit for the Aggies in College Station.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and before the show, we talked about a team that eliminated Ed's arch nemesis and UConn. They eliminated Boomer Sooner. They're sitting on their couch. They could be another team to look out for as they play Florida State. It's just sometimes you just never know. And just like David, to his point with his Florida team, although they did not have maybe the best regular season, sometimes it just is it matters when you show up the most, and that's what Florida's doing right now.
Case in point, Ole Miss a couple years ago, they were the last team or one of the last teams invited, and they ended up winning the whole thing. So, and then also same thing I think happened with Fresno State. They had an up and down regular season in 2008, and then they ended up winning the whole thing. Sometimes it truly is just all about being given a chance and then making most of the chance that you were given.
So you're saying there's a chance?
I am saying there is a chance. Yes.
There's a Evansville over Tennessee, or no chance. One thing that we like to do on here is we like to break down the conferences being well represented in the tournaments, whether it's football, basketball, you name it. And right now in the super regional, it's clearly well represented by the SEC and ACC, as they both have 5 teams apiece in the super regionals. And the Big 12 and the Pac-12 or Pac-2, they have 2 apiece. And then the Missouri Valley Conference, you've probably never heard of them, but they are Missouri. They have 1 in the Big East with 1. Guys, it just seems like it's been such a trend lately. SEC or maybe future SEC teams are really just kind of leading that in a lot of sports right now. And the SEC, they're always right there.
The SEC doesn't just dominate in football.
That they don't, and that's what I think the country needs to see, is that the SEC, yes, they're known as a football powerhouse conference, but look at them in basketball. Look what they did this last year in basketball going into March. Look at them now in baseball. They are on every, they're represented in every sport. So a big shout out to the SEC, but big shout out to all these schools here, whether they're representing the Big East or the Missouri Valley Conference. They're here, and a lot of other teams aren't. So good.
And another sport that we didn't mention on that is the golf.
Mm-hmm.
you would expect golf to be kind of a West Coast, area type thing. No, it's the SEC. It's Vanderbilt. It's Auburn just won the national championship for golf in the spring. Um, you had mentioned what the SEC did in the tournament, in the basketball tournament. I would say that is absolutely true, unless they were playing Yale.
Yeah. Sorry, Auburn. No War Eagle for you. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up with golf too. I mean, look at Justin Thomas, one of the well-known golfers, Alabama alumni. So there's a lot. Scotty Scheffler, future,
yep,
future SEC
alumni. Yeah.
So yep, well represented all around. I want to talk about. I don't talk about it this much. And a lot of the country does not talk about this much, but I want to talk about what's going on in the WNBA right now. For those of you who don't know what the WNBA is, it's the women's.
Is that an Ultimate Frisbee League?
I think so. They probably score more than this league does, but Caitlin Clark has become a household name, and for good reasons. This is not for bad reasons. This isn't an O.J. Simpson household name. This is a positive Caitlin Clark with what she did in college at Iowa and what she is doing now in the WNBA. But things aren't going so well when you hear her name. It is not synonymous with good. It is actually bad right now, and it has nothing to do with what she is doing, in my opinion. And I will say this on here. I think it has everything to do with her skin color. And this needs to be talked about more, because I think if roles were reversed, this would be on the headlines everywhere. This is being talked about. I don't want to be contradicting here. This is being talked about to an extent, but it's not being talked about enough in the right reasons. She is a rookie, and you do have to earn your stripes. That is in every sport. So I do not want to disregard that. But what is happening now is more than her earning her stripes, the toughness scales, or anything like that. This is someone that is being tormented for her popularity because, well, of how good she is, and because maybe she is a rookie. I think both things can be true at once, but I do think that there are more ulterior motives to what is happening to Caitlin Clark. The floor is your guys'. I want to hear your guys' opinion.
Well, I think WNBA players in general are morons. You always complain that you never get enough viewership, right? You always complain that nobody cares about your games. Then here comes along, Kaylin Clark, someone who's good. And I'm not trying to downplay the skills of any WNBA players. Let's just say that, at the end of the day, here is a woman who will make your league popular. This is what you've been searching for your whole time. No, 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 not like that. No, no, we don't. As I said, more ons. Ed?
Well, I want to kind of take the timeline for Caitlin Clark in this, because she went straight from the women's college basketball championship tournament to being drafted to starting a WNBA season, all within, I believe it was 45 days.
Yeah.
That is not a lot of time. Her body is worn out, and the WNBA is going to be more physical because these are professional players, not college players. So that is certainly going to be a part of it. Now, what the players of the WNBA have made known is that they are going to take every opportunity to physically not dominate, but be physical with Caitlin Clark, and whether it's within the rules or not within the rules. What we saw over this past weekend was Kennedy Carter for Chicago. She basically did a big old hip check for no reason whatsoever on an inbounds pass in the third quarter. And you didn't see Caitlin Clark's teammates rush to her side like you would see in the NBA. They were like, oh, well, whatever, she can handle it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you saw that for the Bulls, guess what? There's going to be benches cleared. There's going to be a lot more going on than just, oh, well, just get up and, well, let's inbound the ball. That was considered a foul at the time, what Kennedy Carter did, but it had to be upgraded by the league to a flagrant one, not within the game itself. And I think it was obvious that it's a flagrant foul. So that in and of itself is stupid for the refs to even be somewhat complicit in what is happening on behalf of Caitlin Clark. And
Yeah.
what I feel, and I'm sorry, David.
No, you can finish your point.
This is actually the bigger point that I'm getting to is it really is looking at from outside that these players are upset that a white woman is coming in and playing at their level, the level of the black players in that league, and they are mad that they feel like the black players feel like this is a league that they should dominate, that nobody else, that no white girl could come in and tell them what to do, because that is not uh, what they what a white girl should be able to do. And they are taking it out on Caitlin Clark for being, for the sin of being just as good as every other player. She's not a star in the WNBA yet. She is not an all-star. She's not going to. I would not say that she is uh, at this level of play as some of the other players that are out there. She can shoot the three ball, but she's still gaining her feet because her body's worn out. But that whole sin of being really, really good while not looking like the people that believe that they run that league is the worst thing that I'm seeing out of this whole deal. David?
Yeah, I mean, it is really amazing how much undeserved hate Caitlin Clark gets, both from the players, and the fans. I actually quote tweeted um, a post where the person said Caitlin, but they replaced A with an asterisk, and I said I didn't know. I learned tonight that Caitlin is apparently a cuss word, but also too, obviously Kennedy Carter is going to say things like, "Oh, I'm just being competitive," and I'm pretty sure that I've seen people on social media talk about how okay, well, what about the teams that were rough back then? They were competitive and all that. Well, here's the crucial thing that nobody is getting, okay? Back then, there was mutual animosity, okay? You talk about the Bad Boy Pistons, right? And their brief rivalry with the Celtics, the Larry Bird Celtics, and then, of course, the Michael Jordan led Bulls, okay? There was mutual animosity, okay? That's the thing. If Caitlin Clark had been talking crap about Kennedy Carter and, if there was actual legit bad blood between the two, I would probably understand Kennedy Carter doing a hip check. Hell, I might even support it, although that might be a strong word. I think it's better for me to say that I would understand Kennedy Carter's hip check if that was the case. But that is not the case. There is no mutual animosity here. All Caitlin Clark is doing is her job, okay? She has, last time I checked, has no off the court issues. Everybody off the court seems to love her. She's just there doing her job. Quit making enemies with someone who so clearly does not want to be enemies with you.
Yeah, I don't think Caitlin Clark has ever talked crap about anyone in her life. That's the thing about her is she's just out there doing what God gave her the talent to do. She is great at basketball, and you can't knock her for that. It may annoy you because she's good. Gosh, you don't know how often I hated Tom Brady because of how good he was. All right, I get that, but the way that they're going about it is not normal. And like I said, if the roles were reversed, as far as when I say that I'm talking about skin color here, this would be all over headlines. And I want to read just this quick quote here that I read earlier, and I'll tell you who said it is she facing the rookie challenge, the rookie hardships that are inherent with being a rookie? Yes, but she's also being targeted. That was said by Coach Gino from UConn, who has coached the who's who of who's been in the WNBA coming through college. So for someone like that who's been in around for 30 years or so, uh, that says it all to me. Is that yes, she is facing some physicality from being a rookie. That's normal, but she's being targeted,
Yeah.
and no one deserves that at all. No one.
And don't even get me started when after the game when Kennedy Carter said, I didn't say anything to Caitlin Clark. Well, what'd she say to you? I don't know what she said to me. So, okay, you admitted that you made a dirty play for absolutely no reason whatsoever. It's ridiculous, man.
Well, and Angel Reese, who was Caitlin Clark's nemesis, if you will, through college, she's on that Chicago team that they were playing, and Angel Reese wants to make it all about her when it's obvious that the WNBA is getting chartered flights now. They're getting more celebrities. They're getting recognition because Caitlin Clark is part of that league. And Angel Reese wants to make it about her. She wants to be in the spotlight so badly that I think she's turning into the Jeb Bush of the WNBA. Whereas she wants to say, "Oh well, I'm part of the reason why I'm the reason why we're getting celebrities. I'm the reason why we're getting sold out arenas. Please clap." And that's and that is really what it is. To me, if you have to tell me you're the reason, you're probably not the reason. And that is where Angel Reese to me sits on this whole pedestal thing, thinking that she is the reason why the rookie class is gaining more attention into the WNBA when she's not. It
Am I
is Caitlin. Let's not be silly about this.
Yeah.
am I the only one who thinks that the whole Angel Reese Caitlin Clark rivalry is just way overblown? I don't even know if I would call it a rivalry. Okay, you want to take a rivalry? Michael Jordan versus Isaiah Thomas. That was a rivalry right there.
Mhm.
Okay, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Okay, they met a couple times. First time in the championship, and really like it just got all the attention because Angel Reese was mocking Caitlin Clark for a gesture that was made before. But that is not a real rivalry. Can it build up into a rivalry? Yes, absolutely. But I hate how people are trying to market this as a rivalry when it's not a rivalry whatsoever. Good golly.
That's because Angel Reese wants to make it that because if her name is associated with Caitlin Clark, she is being talked about. Toby Keith made a famous song about her. I want to talk about me. I want to talk about and that is Angel Reese to a T, where she wants that because she wants to be the reason why stars are there. But then she hates it at the same time when cameras are in her face when she's getting off the team bus. It's like pick and choose. Like, what are you doing? It's just ridiculous.
It's almost like they want the more money and they want the celebrity, but then they don't. It's only okay when it suits them,
Hmm.
and that is not how celebrity and cash flow works at a professional level. That's not how that works at all. I'm unfriending you off my wall. No, that's not how this works at all. And with Kennedy Carter, as we go back and take a look at how she reacted to Caitlin Clark playing against her, she she basically played as an enforcer against the Indiana Fever, and I hate to say it, she has a rap sheet. She's got she's has a history of bad behavior while in the league, and that has caused a couple of releases from uh, her her actually having a job, because at this level basketball is a job, and when you act the way that Kennedy Carter has acted toward your teammates by not coming out of the locker room after halftime because you're upset about playing time, your minutes on the floor, you're not the the one that everybody's coming to see, which all five people of them, they weren't really there to see her. So she's like, "No, I'm not going to play."
Yeah,
So the team
and
that she was on said, then don't play. You're suspended. Get away.
and ultimately, like you can't even count what she did to Caitlin Clark as a heat of the moment thing, because we've all seen her likes on Twitter. We've all seen her trying to justify things. And then Ed, with everything you said, it sounds like you're telling us that Kennedy Carter is basically the Patrick Beverly of the WNBA.
I
Except that Beverly at one point was actually good, at least defensively.
I was going to take it a step further and say, he says Kennedy Clark. I hear Ron Artest. David Street hears Meta World Peace. So, but I mean, yeah, she was suspended halfway through for refusing to leave the locker room. She wanted to fight her own teammates due to lack of playing time. Traded to the Los Angeles Sparks. Released 24 games into the season due to her behavior, conduct issues. Played in Turkey in 2023, and then was signed by the Chicago Sky. I just, yeah, she has a rap sheet for sure, and it's not a pretty one.
Yeah, that's a lot of miles from being drafted number 4 overall in the 2020 draft.
Yeah. So when you say the whole enforcer thing, maybe that's true, but all I know is all eyes are on the calendar for June 16th, because that's the next time the Chicago Sky and the Indiana Fever meet. So, but then again, all eyes are on every game Caitlin Clark's playing for good reason. I'm just going to say it. I know that she's no all-star superstar yet in WNBA, but this is a player that we're talking about who pretty much is like Steph Curry of women's college basketball. We saw what he did at Davidson, especially in the men's college basketball tournament. And he came over to the NBA. It's not that he had an explosive rookie season. Tyreek Evans won Rookie of the Year that year. But then we all know who Steph Curry is. We know what he's known for, his threes from the parking lot. Well, Caitlin Clark's that same player who can grow into that as well.
I totally forgot about Tyreek Evans' existence.
Not me, because I'm a Kings fan.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and also Caitlin Clark, as we go through next season, she's going to have a whole year to let her body rest, which she hasn't had, because as we said, she's been playing basketball since the fall of last year, all the way now into June.
Mm-hmm.
That is a lot of wear and tear that the WNBA schedule does not allow for any type of recovery before you start your rookie season.
Yeah, there's no way that her legs could continue to even let her shoot a three ball because she's got a lot of miles on her legs just in the last 6 months because of how much basketball she's been playing. So, but yeah, there's more to talk about on this story, just because it's continuing to happen, and we're not really seeing much change of it. So, uh, I'm interested to hear what you guys have to think about this story. Interested to hear what you guys have to say about the MLB, first ever lifetime ban of an active player. I mean, was this pretty big deal as far as this suspension or this lifetime ban. Let us know what you think in the comments. But also, while doing so, can you please hit that like and subscribe button and share these videos? We appreciate your guys' input. We appreciate you guys in the live chat as well, supporting us. We enjoy talking with you there too. So continue to keep tuning in, and we'll be there to chat with you. But till next time, guys, we are rounding third, and we are headed for home.